Yes, yes, yes. All right, all right, all right. It is a Friday night. It is the Press Pro Hangout. Hi, everybody. How are you? I am Rich Grisham. I'm excited to be here with two of my favorite guys. Starting first with the great Brian Weedeye from Pasta Padre. Brian, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing okay, I guess, Rich. I mean, there's some decent NBA and NHL going on lately.
Decent. It's
Decent,
fantastic. What are you talking about? It's
fairly
spectacular.
decent. Fairly well. You have to remember, as far as NBA goes, I just root against every team. I have no one to root for. So that means somebody's winning every game, and it irritates me. It's like, oh, there we go. Dwight Howard just won a game. That irritates me. And I see Oklahoma City win a game. It irritates me. Brooklyn wins a game. It irritates me.
What?
Um,
Terrible.
I have to root. I think I have to root for Toronto and Memphis, and Washington. I don't know. I kind of like those fan bases.
Yeah, there you go. Nothing wrong with those
Yeah.
choices, except the Toronto choice. But, that's a whole other thing. And also, with us this evening is TJ Lauerman from That Sports Gamer. TJ, what's happening, dude?
Hey, Rich, what's going on? I'm so excited for hockey and basketball playoffs. I can't hear myself. Go Nets. Go Nets. Yeah, go Nets.
All right, so we are actually going to dive into the real NBA and NHL playoffs a little later on because at least one of us is really interested in all of them, and that's enough. But we're actually going to start off with the fake playoffs, and that is in our Madden League.
Yep.
We are on the cusp of our what is it? It's our third playoffs, right? This is the third season. I keep thinking it's four, but it's actually three. We're on the cusp of our third season's playoffs. We are one day away from the kickoff of that. And Brian Weedeye, you are currently, and well, not currently, you will be the number 2 seed in the NFC. Somehow, I still don't know how this happened, I am the number 1 seed. But even more shocking in the NFC, TJ Lauerman, you did not make the playoffs. Let's start with that. TJ, what happened? You were like a dominant team the first couple of years. What happened?
I mean, sometimes you just gotta come sit down and rebuild for next year. This year was I figured I'd let Brian have his time to shine, win a couple games, and just sit back, relax, let the draft picks roll in, and come back retooled and ready to go next year.
All right, so let's take a look at it. Now, I don't know in the AFC. It's the Eagles at number 1 at 15-1, and Brian, your Seahawks at number 2 at 13-3.
Yeah, the first time I'll have a bye. So
yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. I've won the division, but never had the bye. But in the NFC South, you have Commish Don, that is Donnie Moore, who won the South at 11-5, and then in the North. Kat Bailey's 11-4 with her Vikings, and Mike Phillips is 12-4 with his Bears. Now, if Kat wins her game, does she win the division, or has Mike already clinched that division?
I haven't looked at it, but based on email correspondence, it sounded like Vikings get the division if they win.
Okay. So that means Kat would either be number 3 or number 5. All right.
Yeah.
So, but it will be an all-human NFC.
With Pete Dodd making it, that's nobody could have predicted that, and he's the one to give you he's the only one to give you a blemish on your record.
Yeah, he beat me solidly. It was a game where I did not play my starters, but it was one of those games where I have a feeling even if I had played my starters, he still would have won. Like I actually did play my starters on defense, just on offense, and he did what he wanted to against me.
It was in the snow. It was in the snow too, which was the first time I think I've seen a game in the snow in our league. So that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, no, he did a nice job against me. He's somebody to watch. He started off very slowly, and he's won a whole bunch of games, and he's 10-6. So he will be playing either Kat or Mike in the first round, and then Donnie will be playing either Kat or Mike. So that'll be interesting. And then in the AFC, boy, a whole bunch of stuff going on. But AJ's Broncos are 15-1, and Marcus's Bills are 14-1. So they're going to be the top 2 seeds. And then you got Gus Ramsey's Colts locking in the number 3 seed, and then Corey Anderson's Bengals at number 4. And then I have no idea. I guess the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots are in a playoff spot. That's Greg Ford's Patriots. But after that, I mean, I think the Chiefs still have a shot. The Texans have a shot. So there's definitely one of our human players who will not be making it. And this will all be decided in the next 24 to 48 hours or so, because we're looking to actually kick off the playoffs, hopefully tomorrow night. So another year of Madden, another mess of fun. You know, it's interesting going into the playoffs. I mean, I'm 15-1. I'm a number 1 seed, and I have zero confidence that I'll win my first game.
That's so weird.
You know. Like that week off actually in Madden I think hurts because you just you get out of the rhythm of playing the game, and because you're in year 3 of your season. I mean, because you're in year 3 of your franchise, even if you go play with like the regular team, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It would be nice, and I don't know if it'll happen or not, but it would be nice if you could somehow take your team that's in year 3 or year 4 or year 5 and somehow play some exhibitions with them. You need
to practice. Like I mean, they have that in other games now, in other online franchises. They have that where you can take your team, not just practice against the CPU, but practice against other humans if you want.
Yeah. But it's going to be another wild round. It looks like all humans in the playoffs again. We have 14 players, so it's not that surprising. But I think this might be the first year that we've had all human players in the playoffs. I know in the first year we had a couple CPU.
Yeah, we didn't have enough. We didn't have enough people, especially in the AFC that year. Yeah.
So Brian, your thoughts heading into the playoffs?
Well, I'm in a difficult position because I lost my starting quarterback.
Yes, that's right.
Now, this actually doesn't shake my confidence because I'm turning to Tavares Jackson. So Zane Gavin was my guy. He's the reason why I traded Russell Wilson away. And, I got 2 first-round picks for that. And I think it was worthwhile. It's definitely helped my team, and it saved me money to spend more next season. So I lost Gavin, who on the year, he was having a great year. He had missed a couple games, but he has something like 23 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. So he was efficient at the very least. Now, Tavares Jackson, I played against TJ and won that game, and he was really sharp in that game. And I've done well with him in other games, too. I think on the year it's 10 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. I get a little more risky with him. He's got a bigger arm. So that's kind of what I'm looking at now is I have to take T-Jack. And if I get to the Super Bowl, I would get Zane Gavin back. Then I'd have to make a decision whether I want to go with the guy who had gotten me there or go with Gavin again. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm healthy otherwise. I have all my running backs. I have all my receivers. I have my whole entire defense ready to go. So I'm set. And I have, I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't expect to roll off 4 straight clutch wins last year in the playoffs. I could very well go out in the first round, or after the bye, go out in the first game again this year. But I got that. I need that pressure. I need that pressure on me. I lost a couple games this year where I didn't feel pressure on me to win, and that really drives me. It makes me sharper. So I need that pressure back on me. I'm looking forward to it.
Injuries are really interesting. They crippled me going into the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
I lost my starting quarterback, and even worse, I lost LaShawn McCoy getting into the playoffs. And you and I battled, Brian, as we seem to do regularly in the playoffs, and you were able to win in overtime in a really an epic game. So this year, as soon as I knew that I had a bye, I hadn't even gotten the first seed, but as soon as I knew I had a bye,
yeah.
Nick Foles down, sat LaShawn McCoy down, sat Deshaun Jackson down. I don't care about the 16-0 record. I was 14-0. I wound up at 15-1. I didn't care about that because I knew it meant nothing. For me to have a chance to actually win a playoff game, I need all my guys. So, and we've seen injuries just devastate teams. We've seen retirements devastate teams. I mean, I have a feeling Mr. T.J. Larriman would be in the playoffs if a certain Frank Gore hadn't decided to hang him up before
and
the
Justin Smith.
And Justin Smith. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. 10 Carradine's done pretty good. But then he had a freak injury, and he was out for 4 weeks. But and what sucks is they don't have like that auto subs, like the mass subs that NCAA had.
That's right.
So like last year, I sat my guys for week 17. And then I think the first 3 to 17 times that I tried to play Mike Phillips in that game, his first playoff game, I forgot to put my guys back in. So at some point I actually remember to put the starters back in. But yeah, they really need to add that mass
and then
subs.
Yeah, and then you end up with the guys, like, you see him on special teams, you're like, no!
Yeah.
And like, here comes Lynch back in as third down running back. Oh, I forgot to switch that one.
Right, and as a matter of fact, last year not only was McCoy out and Foles out, but Deshaun Jackson was out too last year going into the playoffs because he got hurt on a punt return. So what I've done is I do not mess with the lineups in like the season. I wait till the game starts and then I go to the depth chart in game and I make all the adjustments so that when the next game starts, all of the regular starters are in. Because the last thing I want to do is get burned by something like that. All right, so TJ, as a observer this year in the playoffs, give us your picks. Who's gonna win the AFC? Who's gonna win the NFC? And who's gonna win the Super Bowl?
I gotta root for Brian and the Seahawks. Obviously. So next year,
I didn't expect you to say that. You usually hate on me, so I got.
So when I start whooping them next year, I can be like, I just messed up that Super Bowl champ.
Hey,
who's going to win? Who's going to win the AFC, TJ?
I'm going to go with Marcus's Bills.
So you think a Super Bowl rematch, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, what about AJ? There's some controversy brewing with AJ because his defensive statistics are ridiculous. I mean,
they're unreal.
Super ridiculous.
He's covering those wide receivers like some hipster flannel. I don't know.
And now, sacks has last time I looked, it was like 80-some sacks, and no other team in the whole league had like 40.
And
it's just insane.
Defensive juggernaut.
And TJ, you are responsible for bringing him into the league. What do you have to say for yourself?
I don't know if I did. I'm pretty sure I didn't do that. I'm going to pass on that. I think that was your fault, Rich. But not in my conference.
Yeah, it's crazy though. I mean, like I looked at my stats and my team. I have a good defense. I think I'm like 4th or 5th in the league. And Richard Sherman, who's 99 overall, has 4 interceptions. He leads my team. So and the Broncos have I think 5 or 6 players that have more interceptions than him. Yeah. And then like my sack leader is Cliff Averill. He has 10. And the Broncos had the top 2 leading sack guys in the whole league, and it's not even close. It's like Von Miller has like, I don't know, he probably has like 70 by now.
No, 55. Geez, I just thought, yeah.
55, and then the second highest is on the Broncos too, and then no one else, like the highest besides that is like maybe 14, something like that.
Utterly ridiculous.
I think we throw him out of the league.
What's also interesting is that I believe it will be a season of transition as we move into season 4. It'll be interesting to see if everybody sticks around. We do have 2 more people who have for a while indicated interest in joining the league, and one of them happens to be Garnett Lee from Weekend Confirmed, one of yours, and now Garnett on Games. And if Garnett's wants to be in our league, I think that would be awesome. Only problem is he wants to be the Cowboys, who are in my division, so I'll wind up playing Garnett a couple times a year. And some other folks as well. And while we're not really accepting more applications to the league because 14 is already big, you get somebody like Garnett Lee who wants to play. It certainly is, I think, something we should think about. It'll be interesting to see if anybody decides to sort of hang it up that's in the league this year, or if everybody stays in.
Yeah, if only there was a baseball game coming out sometime around the time our playoffs would start.
Yeah, but that baseball game probably won't work online. So does it really matter?
Hasn't worked the last 5 years.
That, TJ, is what I call a professional segue. So, yes, as you mentioned, MLB, the show 14, is coming out on the PS4, and a certain website called That Sports Gamer is going nuts for this game on the day it releases. TJ Lauerman, you are That Sports Gamer. You have got an ambitious schedule planned for that day. Talk to us, sir. What is going on?
All right, well, since I haven't played this yet on a console, I'm very excited. And since I've been playing the Vita and I realized you can't really hit on that thing, I have shied away from like full games. I've only done the Road to the Show on there. So what I'm going to do is play the whole Major League schedule for next Tuesday, which has 15 games on the docket. So I figure I'm going to do 5 games with player lock, 5 games with quick counts, and 5 games where it's just a full game. And I figure that'll give me like a good average amount of time to finish a quick count game compared to a full game, and get to play with that player lock feature a little bit. And I'll probably do some Road to the Show, though I don't want to start my Road to the Show without the Operation Sports rosters.
No, you don't.
And we'll probably start my Diamond Dynasty team and spend like 6 hours designing my logo.
Yeah,
And,
that is. Yeah, I can't wait to watch you streaming you designing a logo for hours upon end. Yes.
I watched Marcus do it, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, and if I'm gonna be streaming the whole day, and I'll put all the games up on YouTube afterwards. And if you're in the stream, that'll be the first place where I'll figure out some way to have people start signing up to get their names in on my Diamond Dynasty team. So if I actually play that this year, they can get their names in. I can hit home runs with them. They can be all excited.
You got to
And
add me in
maybe
there.
we'll give something away. I'm not sure. Not sure yet. No promises, but there might be a giveaway.
Do you have a medical professional nearby?
I mean, the hospital is literally like down the street.
Okay.
And the real problem is, I mean, playing the games is easy. The real debate is what I'm going to have for lunch. I think I'm going to get some Dunkin' Donuts before I start this whole nonsense, and then some sort of pizza maybe for lunch. I haven't really decided yet. Maybe we can get like Domino's to sponsor this. That'd be awesome, right?
Jimmy John's, something.
Jimmy John's, Papa John's. Hey, it's not football, but it's a ball, right?
So you got some one-on-one, some head-to-head matchups scheduled. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so what I was going to do was play Special Keezy, my sometimes co-host on that Sports Gamer show.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be the Brewers, since he's originally from Wisconsin. There's this guy in Seattle that I'm going to play with. He's pretty good. He's going to be the Mariners. I think that's it. Is there anything else?
You are a hurtful person, TJ.
And then Rich Grisham is going to come on with his Mets and lose to me and Jose Fernandez.
You know, I'm on my phone the other day and I see a tweet from TJ. You know, a guy who I thought he was my friend. You know, we've gone to events together, done PAX East panels together. I click on his tweet, says, "Oh, big plans for the show." I'm like, "Oh, check, this will be interesting." I click on it, he's like, "Oh, look at all this stuff I'm doing. I got Brian Weedeye, I got all my friends," and I'm like, "Oh, gee, would have been nice for the guy to just at least, you know, say, hey, Rich, what are you doing that day? You want to play some baseball?"
Rich, you already told me what you're doing. You said you were going to be working and watching me stream.
That's true.
So I assumed you were busy.
No, but all kidding aside, Brian Weedeye, what do you think online's going to work for PS4 MLB The Show?
I do not have any hopes that it will.
Really?
No. I think, you know, there's obviously a higher priority, I think, probably on their end to get online running better, but their response to the PS3's issues weren't really sufficient, in my opinion. And there's no reason to expect it to work better. I know some people say, yeah, well, you have to pay for PlayStation Plus now, but that really doesn't have anything to do with this individual title and its net code and however they designed it to work online. You know, of course, I'd like it to be better. That would be great because then I could actually utilize online franchise and we could actually play some online stuff and do some of these things. But am I going to be surprised if it's a disaster online? Yeah, because I don't think that's, you know, their real concern right now. I don't think it has been for a long time.
Well, here's what we know. We know that the PlayStation 4 performs really well online. We know it because Madden is, generally speaking, strong. We know it because FIFA, generally speaking, is strong. We know it because plenty of non-sports games that you play are strong. So to me, this is the one, once and for all, sort of proves whether or not this is a platform issue with baseball or whether this is a MLB The Show issue with baseball.
Those games you mentioned, though, Rich, were good already on 360 and PS3.
Well, you know, I had a lot of problems with Madden on the 360 online. Lots and lots of problems. Like Madden on the PS4 versus Madden on the 360, much, much better on the PS4 than the 360. And I played a ton of Madden on the 360. I mean, TJ, you're in the four-string league. I mean, there were lots and lots and lots of problems for lots of people in that league.
Yeah, and I think even Mike Phillips was having problems playing Madden on PS3, like with frame rate issues and stuttering and stuff. So
yeah, and I'm not even talking like just being able to play the games. Like it's really multiple levels, right? With MLB The Show, it's multiple levels. Number one, you want to actually be able to play the game, right? To get a connection and play 9 innings. That's level one, and that's pretty difficult, at least in my experience on the PS3. But then level two is you want a smooth experience. Like you want it to where like when I'm playing FIFA or Madden, generally speaking on the PS4, it's pretty much the same experience as when I'm playing offline. Like a little bit here and there, but not that different. And I've never played, not just MLB The Show, but any baseball game online. I've never had a single player like experience when playing baseball online. So there's multiple levels here. I mean, because if the game, works, but and Brian, we had laughable situations happen when we play the show online. If the timing is way off, or the guy pitches and there's a hitch, and then all of a sudden you swing and then something if it doesn't even work, then that's no good either.
Well, I think something you need to note too is that no one at SCEA, no one there is claiming that it will be better. So they could that could be them being cautious and not wanting to oversell online, or it could be that they recognize. I mean, there were comments made after the PS3 release that essentially led people to believe that, look, it's not going to be better on the PS4. If it is better, it's going to be because of stuff that we patched, and that's going to affect the PS3 too. So there isn't any reason for that to have that confidence, I think. But I hope to be surprised. I mean, that's the only thing I can look at right now. But I mean, you can't buy the show because you're going to expect online to be a good experience. I think you have that history there. You can't ignore that until we find out otherwise.
Well, I mean, I'll say this. With Madden and FIFA on the PS4, stronger online wasn't even mentioned when those games launched, right? And it just worked a lot better. So hopefully something like that happens. TJ, if online does work, you and I are actually going to wind up playing a 7-game series. Is that true?
I mean, it'll be a 4-game series, but...
Oh, wow.
I'm not good at Madden. I have the utmost confidence in MLB.
Okay. Well, depending upon the teams, it could definitely be that. But we try to do it in NBA Live, using the 7-game series function.
There's an online game that didn't work very well, Rich.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did we ever even figure out how to play someone to get it count in that?
Yeah, it was actually recording it automatically.
Yeah.
No matter where you played it, yeah.
But when you went into the specific thing for the 7-game series, it didn't find the person. You just had to.
You couldn't even find them online. Buddy list didn't populate.
Yeah, it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. And honestly, I don't know if it works today or not. Because even though NBA Live was difficult at times to play, I mean, we did have some fun playing it. It just, to get to the point where we could play the 7-game series just took so much. And NBA 2K14, everybody knows I'm an NBA 2K14 junkie. Like I play it almost every day. But it's online. It has been hit or miss very much, even recently for me as well. So, all right. So hey, that is TJ's plans for the show. Up next, some big UFC information hit this week, and I know a bunch of people are excited. And I think the two of you are excited. We also got some questions about it as well. The career mode was mentioned, and speaking of that, one of our listeners, the one Rayman, says he's curious what everyone's opinion of EA Sports UFC and the announcement of Tough being included. So I'm going to start with you, Brian. The career mode, everything, the Ultimate Fighter gym. Talk to us. Are you excited? What'd you think when you saw that?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty big news because there have been a lot of people calling for that for years with THQ, and they really couldn't do it because of a royalty that would have been due. That just made the whole prospect of putting it in unreasonable. So I don't know if that expired or if EA and UFC paid it, but now they finally do have Tough, and I think that's a cool way to start the career. Now I can imagine. Maybe it makes the career mode something that you only want to play through once. It sounds like there's an end point to it that you're going to hit, and since there's no different ways to kind of start a career, maybe that limits it a bit. But it's I think that's an exciting way to start things, and there's it's not just the hardcore fight fans, but also kind of a more casual crowd. It's not a huge ratings draw. But that show does draw in more people, and it'd be cool to play through that experience. So I think that's a neat addition for them.
TJ Lowerman, your thoughts?
Actually, I really like it because a lot of games just dump you straight into, okay, I'm in career mode, now I'm a pro. Like Madden, if you start your superstar or connected franchise mode as a individual player, you're on the pro team. And I think the idea of having the Ultimate Fighter thing is a pretty cool way to start out your career and get acclimated with the controls and everything and get into it. A lot better than just getting thrown in there against the hardest people in the game. And the one thing I really like in this whole career mode thing is where it has, like, your fighter has a lifespan, and if he gets beat up a ton, his lifespan will be, or his career span will be shorter. I think that's something that more games need to start putting in. Like, even if it was like in Road to the Show, your arm has 20,000 pitches in it, and you just kind of know.
Well, you're mad. You better get control of those managers who don't pull you in that mode.
Yeah, but I think that's a really cool idea. Like, if you're a middle linebacker and you keep taking huge hits,
concussions, and
you get concussions and stuff. I think having that kind of feedback is pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes things unique as you go, and you have to adjust to it. Yeah, I can see that. But of course, fighters aren't going into tough with no background at all either. So I mean, you're still, maybe at some point they add, a backstory to your fighters too. But yeah, I think it's cool. It's just more authenticity there, and it adds to what would have been a bland career mode for the most part, in all likelihood.
This is a real interesting game. Ultimate Fighter, there hasn't been an Ultimate Fighter game for a couple of years. This is a sort of a in-between spot with sports games, right? Because other than the show, there's no major sports game that comes out between the show and Madden, except for UFC, unless I'm missing something, which is
you could count the golf club, maybe.
Well, that hasn't yet been. There's no real date yet announced.
Correct. Yeah.
For consoles, it is on PC on consoles. So I'm curious, Brian Weed, what do you think? How do you think this game is going to perform? Is this going to be a sleeper hit? Is this going to miss the mark with sales? Like, two questions really for you. How do you think EA is planning for this to sell, and how do you think it's going to sell?
I would look. I don't think it's going to sell what. Of course, we have smaller console bases now too, compared to the THQ's launch.
Right, and it's only coming out on next-gen consoles, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, THQ far exceeded expectations with their first one, with UFC 2009. I forget the numbers. I'd have to go back and look, but that one was well over 1 million. And then it's dropped significantly for the second, and then dropped significantly for the third, and it was like 70% from that first one to the third one that were lost. Consumers lost. Now the difficulty for EA is there's still that stigma there. There's a reason people walked away from a UFC game, and this is within the last 5 years. People played one, maybe they liked it, whatever, but they got turned off from them for some reason. Now, one theory is that rosters don't really change year to year. THQ kind of suffocated the market by releasing the second game just a year after the first. But it was also not very accessible. So you have a lot of people who, for one reason or another, they left UFC video games. Can you pull those people back? That's the difficulty, and you can see EA trying to do that with things like bringing in Bruce Lee to the roster, and Tough is another way, I think, to draw in different people. And then the demo, which I think holds a lot of importance, that was a big reason why the first UFC game sold for THQ, is because the demo was so terrific. So I think it's going to be a marginal hit. I don't think it's going to, I think it's something that EA is going to build on in the future. They have to establish themselves at this point and build that credibility back up that they had no part in losing, really. EA had their MMA game just a couple of years ago, which was pretty good, but no one bought it. So it's the difficulty in bringing back in kind of a consumer base that turned away from UFC for a while, but there are reasons to think that they'll come back to it. I just don't know if it'll be that immediate. A lot's going to depend on the demo and whether it's a good game, and I think if it is, then it'll do well. But it also has the potential to not do as well as they're hoping.
Both of you are very active with your communities related to your different endeavors. Brian, when you post a UFC article, what's the traffic? What are the comments like? Are there a lot of people that are talking about this game?
It does. UFC does pretty well. I think, again, because we don't have that many games coming out anytime near. It's a next-gen game. You saw the disappointment with World Cup. So people are excited to see what EA is bringing to the table. They haven't really yet, because EA's only done flashy trailers and screenshots. People want to see what they can do, because it reminds them of the first Fight Night for the last generation, which kind of showed off the technical prowess of those systems. And they want to see that again here with UFC, because the potential is there for that. It's not. It's again, it's kind of like the show in that it's very niche. There are the fight fans, and then there are those who maybe, hate fighting, or like just disgusted by it, or just don't think it should be as popular as it is. And with baseball, there's a lot of people who think, oh, it's boring. So there's a mix there that isn't necessarily there with, NFL or NBA. But there's intrigue about the game. I just don't know if it's excitement yet.
TJ, as you discovered, Keezy is a UFC fan, although you didn't know it until you were talking about it on your show. What about in your community? I mean, you're streaming every day. You're interacting with people who are part of the That Sports Gamer community. Is there excitement? Is there buzz around UFC with the guys that you're talking to?
I mean, not a whole lot, except for the people that are like dedicated fight fans. I don't think a lot of real casual people are really excited for this game. And it's funny how you pitched the initial question to Brian, because up until literally 2 weeks ago, I really also wasn't all that excited about this game coming out. And recently I noticed I've been playing Madden for 8 months, and that's all I've really been playing. MLB's coming out, but then there's not really anything again till the next Madden. And I've been getting really bored, hence why I've dove headfirst into League of Legends, and I'm now playing a bunch of Field Runners again back on my phone. But we really need something to come out and make a big splash, and hopefully the demo to UFC shows that it's going to be a good game, because I still have huge reservations that the controls are going to be awful. So if they can pull that off, this could be a kind of knockout hit for them. Oh, yeah. God, knockout hit. God.
Yeah, I personally am not the least bit interested in it. I don't even think I'm going to get it. I'm certainly going to be. We're going to do shows about it. We're going to talk to hopefully the development team. You got to do it,
Rich. You got to do it, because Dylan and I are going to do a league.
You made me buy NBA Live. You will buy this.
I did not make you buy anything. And of course, I said I would buy Titanfall, then I went and bought it the first day it came out, and haven't played it after like 3 days.
Battlefield.
And well, I traded Battlefield in for Titanfall, neither of which I played at all. It's ridiculous. So I'm interested whether when the game comes out, after it comes out, if there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is awesome, this is great," because I'm not exactly a huge boxing fan, but I certainly do like boxing games. I don't really understand a whole lot about UFC. I certainly don't know the nuances of the fights. I hear the development team and the fans talking. They use all these words in the vernacular about, I just don't even know what they're talking about.
So do you not think they're reaching you, Rich, like as a someone who should be interested in the game, maybe? No,
it's not I'm not saying they're not reaching me. I am a special case. Like I have every minute of my day is scheduled. Like there is no free time. And between work and family, and then gaming-related stuff for work, I'm never just sitting around watching TV or just chilling out. Like every minute of the day is scheduled, and because of that, there's just no room for many things, right? I mean, I don't watch movies. I don't see a whole lot of television shows. I watch live sports while I'm doing other things, right? So I'm not able to be reached, if that makes sense. Like marketing campaigns don't work for somebody like me, just because I'm never sort of randomly in a situation where something like that could be pitched to me. But I know that I'm not like a lot of people. So I don't blame anybody, or I don't say, oh, there's a problem with that. I have very specific tastes and things that I like, and I pursue those all the time. And if I'm not pursuing something that I like or something that's related to work or my family, I'm sleeping. Like there's no time for anything else, which is fine. I mean, it wasn't like that 10 years ago for me, and it probably won't be like that in 10 years. Just these days, that's what it's like. So, but I mean, look, let's say if the review roundtable for the Press Row podcast for UFC has everybody saying it's like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, it's amazing, anybody can get into it, then I'm going to go get the game. That would be ridiculous not to, right? Especially like as TJ you said, if there's the next Madden isn't coming out for 3 months after that. And all of my friends are playing it, and it's a big part of the sports game community, I'm all over it. But for once, I'm waiting on a sports game. But, that's just me. Speaking of new sports games, I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but there is actually, if I can get my screen to work, there is a brand new sports game that just came out. Have you heard about this? It's called Mario Golf World Tour. It just came out for the 3DS. TJ Latterman, you have a 3DS, don't you?
Not at all, Rich.
You don't?
I keep thinking about it.
No,
do you have a 3DS?
I rarely leave the house. I don't have a need for a mobile gaming platform.
Do you go to the bathroom, Brian?
No comment.
Well, I'll tell you this. I am heading out tomorrow. I'm taking my son after our baseball game. We have our baseball game. I'm coach of the team tomorrow morning, Saturday, after we play the game, and then we head out for lunch. We're stopping by the GameStop, and I'm picking up Mario Golf World Tour, and I'll tell you exactly why. I do have a 3DS, and actually I have a 2DS as well. Mario Golf is almost the perfect game for me because of the online. And I'm sure you just heard me say online and 3DS and
Nintendo.
Right. What is he talking about? Do you remember when the Vita launched and the Hot Shots golf game?
Mm-hmm.
There was a wonderful. The Player One podcast, as a lot of you have heard me say, it's my favorite show. Like it's just has been my favorite show for years. And it was organized by Pete Dodd. They had a great Player One podcast tournament for Hot Shots. It's asynchronous golf. So you set up these tournaments, and when everybody has time, they just go in and they play, and it keeps score for all the different people. Or Mario Golf has the same thing, but it's even more going on. And so I've already seen a bunch of my friends and a bunch of the Player One podcast guys like Pete Dodd, he's not on the show, but like Chris Johnston and Pete Dodd as well have mentioned that they've got the game and they're playing it and they're setting up all this stuff. Like asynchronous portable golf sounds awesome, and then you throw in that it's Mario licensed golf. Like, to me, this sounds like a recipe for a good time. So I'm going and picking up tomorrow, and I'm going to dive in, and I'm looking forward to that. TJ, you said you're this close. Could this push you over the edge to get yourself a 3DS?
If it's really good. Based on things I've heard around the internet, they might do another revamp of the 3DS at E3, which means you're going to have to buy another one. But if they do, and it's cool, I'll probably get it, so now I'll have 2 games to play other than Pokemon.
What would they do to the 3DS? I mean, the 3DS XL is great, and the 2DS is great. Like, I don't know what they would do. I think if they announce any hardware at if Nintendo announces any hardware at E3, it's got to be something new. That's not just another version of the 3DS.
Rich, obviously, they went from the 3DS to the 2DS. Now it's time for the 1DS. The one to rule them all.
And I'll tell you, and I'm not a huge Nintendo guy. Like, I have the Wii U, and I like it, and I have the 3DS and the 2DS, so I guess to say that I'm not a huge Nintendo guy is kind of weird. But, I mean, my son and I play a lot of stuff that's not Nintendo. But the 3DS XL and the 2DS are both wonderful little pieces of machinery, and there are so many great games. Brian Weedeye, any chance you get yourself a 3DS or any of the Nintendo
No.
handheld platforms?
No, I do have access to a Wii U, though.
The Wii U is great. I tell you, the Wii U is great. If it's not your main gaming console, the the Wii U is great. My son and I play it regularly. There's a bunch of Nintendo first-party games that are spectacular, but it's definitely a luxury. Like if you can only have one gaming console, the Wii U can't be it, especially if you like sports games.
I'm not one of those people who think that like phones have taken over gaming, right? But that's what I use, and I don't game that much on it. But that's where I go everywhere. I take that, and when I'm bored, I'll use, I'll pull that out and, get on Twitter or whatever. It's just not, appealing to me to carry around another device with me. Now, if I was like you, Rich, and traveled all the time, obviously it would make a lot more sense.
All right.
Wait. Whoa. Rich, can you do something for me?
Maybe.
Let me know how it is on the 2DS.
Okay.
That's the first thing I want you to tell me is, does it look good? Is it fine? Does it need the 3DS? The 3D-ness of it?
I can tell you that already. I don't use the 3D on the 3DS. So, I mean, the 2DS is pretty cheap.
Yeah,
and I'm surprised. I'm surprised because you're a Pokemon guy. I'm shocked that you don't have it. But I'm telling you right now, TJ, if you get a 2DS, Pokemon, and Mario Golf, you will be a happy person. I'm telling you that right now. Plus, by the way, the virtual console games, the library of virtual console games of great old Nintendo games, Mr. Loves him some retro games, is amazing.
Tell me about Rusty's Baseball or something.
Yes. And that's not even what I'm talking about. And that also is amazing. At least according to Chris Johnson.
All right. I'm going to have to do this.
And remember when we did the NES Open show? Oh, wait, we didn't. But I still bought NES Open and played it on the 3DS, and my son loved watching me play it. And that game, by the way, NES Open, incredibly difficult. My goodness, that game is hard. Oh, my gosh. That's harder than Tiger Woods Golf.
Yeah, those greens are tough to read, too. Oh, I know what an arrow means.
All right, up next. Our last big topic for the night. Madden 15 was announced. I'm shocked. I cannot believe Madden 15 is happening.
Whoa. Madden 26, right?
It comes out on August 26th. The teaser trailer. Brian Weedeye, you were not on our show that launched this week, the Press Row podcast. Hit your iTunes store today. Brian, what did you think about the teaser trailer?
The trailer was dumb. I mean, it teased the game properly because it showed nothing and told you nothing about it. Essentially, they're just preparing people for E3 when they'll make announcements at their press conference. But there were details that followed and accompanied it, and some of that stuff was interesting. We don't know enough about it to say whether it's going to end up being worthwhile or stuff, but player lock cameras and new play calling systems I would presume are optional, hopefully, and then things like revamped presentation, the halftime show. Of course, EA's definition of a halftime show changes every year, so you just can't buy into everything. New pass rush tools. So, I mean, these will be interesting to watch for when they actually go into detail on them. But right now, you can't really put much stock into any of it.
So here's the thing, all right? A couple things. First of all, sometimes I feel like I'm the only person in the world, but I could care less about a freaking halftime show. I mean, come on! After the first or second time you watch it, you hit the button to move on. Did you do that? Did you do that in NCAA with their? They didn't necessarily have a halftime show, but things like the cut-ins. No, well, the cut-ins aren't the halftime show. The cut-ins were huge. When you're playing in a dynasty, the cut-ins were targeted at games that you should care about in your dynasty.
Well, what if your halftime show was too?
I don't care because I want to play the game. I'm actually interested in playing the game, but that's
you wouldn't want a halftime show where it cut in and showed like. I do not expect them to do this, first of all, but imagine if you had a halftime show and it cut in and showed you highlights of TJ's game.
Why would it? Well, okay.
He's already watched my game because I was streaming it.
No, time out here. This is great. Okay, so if you're talking about if they could somehow have in our online connected franchise,
right.
At halftime, I would see a couple of highlights of games in our online connected franchise between, like, the two human versus human games. I could potentially see that, but I'll tell you this. And I know when I say I don't care about this or I don't care about that, I'm talking about me. I'm not suggesting that I am of the opinion of sports gamers. But honestly, I want to play the game. I really am not interested in all of this pregame and postgame. The only thing less important to me than a halftime is the postgame. Postgame, click X, get out of there, move on, look at the stats, and then move on with your life. Like, I think it's a whole lot about nothing with this sentiment of needing a halftime show and a postgame show. I play NBA 2K14 every day. Every day. And as soon as the halftime show starts, I'm frantically hitting the button to get out of halftime and move on. And as soon as the game is over, when they're interviewing the guy at half court, I'm like, end it. Come on, I want to keep playing. I want to move on to the next.
Well, that's why I think you need a halftime show or something that gives you something new, some new information. Not here's your replays from your game, and here's what you already know happened, but information from around the league in a franchise, that kind of stuff. I would get into.
I don't want that during the game. I want it when I'm not playing the game, when I feel like looking around and seeing what's going in. Like, it would be great if when I go to into the league before I start the game, I'm like, oh, here's the games that we're playing. I click on one and I could see the highlights, like an on-demand show.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that could get me to stick around in the halftime show. I would just go. Even if it was awesome, I probably still wouldn't watch it after the second time.
Yes, that's my point. Even if it's awesome, after 2, 3, 4, 5 times, who cares? And even worse, right, is the fact that 5 or 10 people at Tiburon are probably spending the equivalent of 750 hours building a halftime show that is useless.
I'll tell you who cares, Rich. The marketing department. That's who cares. There are people who ask for it, but you're right. A lot of time, like all the investment they put into like these pregame runouts and NCAA football and stuff that everybody just skipped. They were great for their trailers and they were great in screenshots. But nobody really cared. But there is a demand. There are a lot of people who ask for things like halftime shows.
But it's fake. I'm telling you right now.
It doesn't sell games. It doesn't. No. It's not going to sell a game.
And you see it in the comments, right? Comment after comment after comment. Oh, the halftime show. NFL 2K5 is the best halftime show. If you got a great halftime show and an ordinary game, who cares? If you got a great game and no halftime show, I'll take that every time. And I'll tell you this too, right? I got to ask you guys because we're all in the online league together. I'm a little nervous because for the first time in years, I really, really, really love Madden on the PS4. Like, I realize there's a lot that needs to improve. Okay, I get that, but unlike every year of the 360, especially during the 4-string years when we just played the heck out of it. And we were desperate for, I can't wait till they fix this or can't wait till they fix that. Like, there's very little on the PS4 from a gameplay standpoint that I'm like, I can't wait till they fix that. Again, understanding that there's lots of stuff they can fix on defense, lots of blocking improvements, interceptions, all that stuff. So I'm actually nervous about the game.
You don't like hearing the transformation begins this June, Rich?
Well, I'll tell you, I am concerned. Right? I'm concerned about what some of these things will actually mean. Now, not concerned in that they're going to break something or they're going to, fix something that's not broken. Just, I don't know, when you get really comfortable with the game, and we're going to be playing this Madden up to the release of the new one, right? Mm-hmm. I'm curious. And could defense be better and more fun to play? Sure. But then I worry about balance issues and overpowering. I mean, we know now in Madden on the PS4 and the Xbox One, when I say PS4, I mean next gen really, the line play is significantly different. As Kat Bailey has mentioned, like her line is pretty fearsome, and they will crush a bad offensive line. Those matchups are no longer even if the defensive lineman is statistically superior to an offensive lineman. So when I hear some of the stuff about, new defensive pass rush tools, I get a little concerned. Like, whoa, is this going to throw things off? Or, are they also going to sort of counter that with new offensive line stuff? I don't know. I mean, Brian, you read these things. Do you get concerned, or are you just like, is that not a thought?
Well, I think there's always concern, especially when it comes to Madden, because they've, over the years they've shown a tendency to change. We've talked about it before. Change their vision, change their approach to the game on a year-by-year basis, and dramatically alter things that might have been good. Maybe they go the wrong direction. You look at Madden 10, which was a great step forward, and then Madden 11, which became, which was known for gimmicky things like game flow. So you just have to worry, because you see things like, oh, hey, we're starting another 3-year plan. And so they have these ideas what they're going to do now. Are they sticking to that, or are they going to change up the way they're doing things? Or there's people leaving the studio, new people coming in. You have the NCAA football team. Some of them integrated into Madden, so that's probably why we're seeing more presentation stuff, because NCAA had worked on those things. I think there's always concern, because they can disrupt what they're doing well and maybe go down a path that leaves you with 5 straight years of mediocre football, like the last generation. So it's tough. And again, there's very few games now that aren't, you have to prove it before we buy into it. And Madden's still in that phase where I think people are skeptical, rightfully so, until they see otherwise.
Yeah, and you mentioned people leaving. I mean, I think it's accurate. I'm hesitant to say it, but I mean, there's people who have been working on some of the core stuff in the game that have left recently, but we've seen departures from Tiburon in the past. And these things happen no matter where you are,
yeah.
Right? I mean, companies, people come and go all the time. TJ, are you concerned, nervous, excited, anticipating? Like, you sort of starting to get the first feel, right? Even if though it's the initial information, you start to get a feel for what the theme of the new Madden is with what you've seen and heard so far. Concern, excitement, what are your initial thoughts?
I think it's the same as kind of every year, because the last few years they've had a tick-tock back and forth if it's going to be an offensive-focused year or a defensive-focused year. Ever since probably 2004, when Vic was so unstoppable, then they brought in the hit stick, and the defense got overpowered, and they've changed up other stuff, made the offense overpowered, and now next gen with the better blocking and stuff, the running game has become kind of overpowered. Now they're trying to bring
outside
stuff to fight it.
Outside running game.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I would call it overpowered. I mean, I guess when you get somebody who really, really, really knows what they're doing, it's overpowered.
Let me tell you
something. There's a reason why guys are running for 4,000 yards.
That's fair. Good point. No, you're right.
Rich, I played a mutt game with A.J. McCarron, 301 rushing yards. It's a little overpowered.
Okay. I mean, there's sliders, there's settings, there's adjustments, but you can make. But yes, I'm with you. I don't know. I just, like I said, for the first time, I'm really comfortable and I like a lot of the core gameplay. But again, I totally understand there's a lot of adjustments that can be made. What I found best about the Madden on the next gen was that so much of it was subtle. And I really liked the subtlety because that indicates that there was some really fundamental level stuff going on. And
also, that was because you played it 2 months ago.
Yes.
It might just seem subtle because it was only 2 months.
That's right.
Maybe if you had to wait a year, you'd be like, oh, this is actually kind of game changing.
That's a good point. I mean, my thing is I would really, really just like the focus as much as possible to continue to be on those subtleties, those really fundamental level things that make a football game much more playable.
I don't think necessarily they haven't done that with the first batch of info, talking about pass rush tools and open field tackling mechanics and smarter AI. So they tackled some of those fundamental areas in there that people have been wanting for a while. Now, whether they deliver in those areas and whether that's just covering up for some gimmicky stuff they're going to introduce later,
right?
I don't really know.
Yeah, like I said, just for the first time in in a long time, and certainly the first time in the era that I played online. I'm actually comfortable with Madden, and I like it. Like I haven't disliked Madden in years past, but really compared to what we have going on now versus the last gen stuff, it's just I don't know.
But you are 15-1.
That's true.
So you might be a little jaded by that.
I am
This might be
absolutely.
the best game ever for Rich.
No, that's NBA 2K14. All right, real quick, a couple lightning round things. Hey, Brian Weeda, you've been playing a World Cup. We had a whole show on it a couple weeks ago. What's going on with your World Cup?
Yeah, I don't think necessarily because of the game. I just haven't been feeling very well lately, and then I'm preparing for a move, so I haven't been playing very much of that. I anticipate I will. I think Corey Anderson, in our FIFA podcast, made a good point in that this game might be one where you buy it right before the World Cup starts, and then you get into it along with everything else going on, because I anticipate I'll be playing it more once that excitement starts to build.
TJ Lauerman, any pangs to perhaps picking up World Cup, or you not getting on the World Cup train?
No, I'm just building up my FIFA Ultimate teams. Gonna work on a Dutch silver team next, so.
And we still don't even know what they're doing for World Cup in PS4, Xbox One, FIFA. They still haven't announced that. I mean, we got some time, but yeah.
Tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, TJ, you have oscillated wildly in your Ultimate Team. You were a FIFA Ultimate Team guy 100% not that long ago. You completely, the pendulum swung. You've gone Madden Ultimate Team now. I've seen lately you getting back into the FIFA Ultimate Team. Like, what's the latest with you and your Ultimate Team empire you got building over there?
It's just getting to that point where they're putting out a whole bunch of like 98, 99 overall cards in Madden. Actually, they put out a whole bunch of 99 overall cards, and then they made a whole bunch of new 99 overall cards with like +2 speed. So once I got to the 99 overall, I was kind of like, yeah, I think I'm good here. I don't want to. I don't need like. I have a 99 team. Do I want another 99 team that's got guys that are just a little bit better, or do I just want to kind of start shifting my focus to FIFA? Because I mean, I only have so much money, so I can only really focus on one this year. So.
Yeah, you don't have Pasta Padre money. We all know that. So you've dabbled back.
I have the money because I don't spend it on Ultimate Team.
Brilliant.
Well, you have been dabbling back in FIFA Ultimate Team on Next Gen. Quick lightning round thoughts on FIFA Ultimate Team on Next Gen. Better, different, the same?
Much better because they have a new search functionality where you can search by the guy's name, except that's broken a lot of the time, so that kind of sucks. But other than that,
broken. What does that mean? What do you mean?
Like you'll put in the person's name, and you'll go to search, and it'll just say no results found, when there's obviously hundreds of the card on the block.
I'm surprised that they would allow that kind of a feature to be busted, considering how important Ultimate Team is to their revenue stream.
Well, you see, they have. I see it all the time on Twitter. Their account tweets, "Hey, we recognize this is down. We're working on it." They're very, very attentive to anything that's revenue related.
Yeah, they also have way more people playing that, and I think at any given time, there's sometimes up to like 2 million cards in the trading block or the auction house. So transfer list. There's too many names for these things. Yeah, I mean, they just have so much happening every minute of that game that it's ridiculous.
All right, last time in the lightning round, or last couple of items, Brian Weedeye, who is going to win the NBA championship?
I like to think in this year's NBA playoffs, something weird is going to happen. So I'm going to say, this is just me fantasizing. It's going to be Wizards against the I don't know, Grizzlies. Grizzlies. No, they're not going
to. Even with Zebo getting suspended for Game 7.
No, it's not going to happen. Wizards, I think the Spurs will win Game 7. So how about Wizards Spurs and Spurs win it all? That'd be a weird series, but no.
The least watched NBA Finals of all time. TJ Lauerman, who's going to win the NBA title?
The Brooklyn Nets.
I love that. You're awesome. Unfortunately, they're going to lose Game 7 in Toronto. The Miami Heat are going to win the title again.
They swept that team. They're tired. They've been relaxing too long.
I want to change my pick. I'm changing my pick just now because I forgot. I told my brother that I like Portland to go to the finals now.
There you go.
It's Portland. That'd be another real interesting rated series. Portland, Washington.
Yikes. That actually, I think that was of the finals in 1978. I think it was Portland versus the Washington Bullets, and I think the Bullets won 78 or 77. Brian Weedeye, who's going to win the Stanley Cup?
I like, this is another tough one because it seems so, the parity there is crazy. I like Montreal has been really impressive, so I like them out of the East. And then
beat the Bruins too in Game 1. So
yeah. So I'm taking advantage of that knowledge. In the West, who's in the West? I think it was Anaheim that I thought looked like they could get out of there. LA, I mean, they just rolled off that force.
Amazing.
Man, the Sharks, I'll tell you what, I don't know everything about hockey, but I know the Sharks are known for choking away things. So
yes, they are.
I saw that happen. I was like, oh, yeah, I know that at least.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'll say Anaheim and Montreal. And then Montreal wins it. I don't know, because they're Canadian.
TJ Lauerman, who's going to win the Stanley Cup?
I'm going with the Chicago Blackhawks.
You picked that because I picked that, didn't you?
I did not know you picked that. I assumed you picked Penguins as a fan of Greg Stewart.
No, I actually, a couple days ago, I tweeted that the Stanley Cup Finals would be the Hawks versus the Penguins, rematch of a couple of years ago. Two really good, really entertaining teams. But then I watched Game 7 of the Sharks Kings series, and wow, the LA Kings coming back from 3-0 the way that they did. Not only did they come back from 3-0, but they came back confidently, strongly against a really good Sharks team. So I'm gonna stick with Hawks Penguins, but boy, I kind of want to change it to the Kings. I mean, they did win the cup a couple of years ago. So they do have a lot of that team still in place. They got the goaltender Quick, who's fantastic.
Yeah.
Boy, they're good. But the Hawks are also loaded. I really think a Hawks-Kings Western Conference final will be spectacular. So I'll tell you this. I'm going to go with the Blackhawks to win the cup. But, boy, if you're not watching the NHL playoffs, you are really missing something. It is terrific this year. And the NHL has got to be delighted, especially in the East. You've got 3 original 6 teams plus the Penguins in the second round. I mean, you could not have – a more, unless you're a fan of a certain team like that got knocked out, you could not have a more nationally or internationally appealing Eastern Conference than having the Canadiens versus the Bruins, and then the Rangers versus the Penguins. And then out west, you got the 2 LA teams. You got Anaheim and the Kings playing each other. And then you got the Hawks and the Dark Horse, the team nobody but Cat Bailey likes, Minnesota Wild. Great stuff. So, hey, look, if you're not an NHL fan or you're a casual NHL fan, now is the time to watch it. These are going to be great games. They're on every night. Every game is on TV, so check it out.
Anytime I'm in Vegas, and usually I go in this around this time, didn't this year, but usually I go around this time during the playoffs or the Stanley Cup Finals, and there, of all the sports I gamble on, I think hockey playoff games might be the most fun to watch. It's insane. It's so much fun.
Hockey playoffs are awesome, and I love the NBA playoffs too. But there's just something, there's a little something extra in the NHL playoffs. I mean, the speed, the ferocity. These guys literally give everything they have on the ice, and it shows when you look at them. I mean, these guys, man, they really give it all. So, all right, so there you go. You got our picks, you got our thoughts.
Yeah.
Brian Weedeye, thank you for joining us this evening. How's your foot, by the way? Did I hear that you broke your toe?
Yeah, that's it's painful.
Yikes.
It's painful. It's especially painful because I have to be active and packing things and moving things, and it just every step I take, it's just pain, and it's just it's a little better today though. But yeah, that was no fun.
No. Well, I'm glad you're on tonight. We missed you on the Press Row podcast, the full episode this week, but we're glad that you made it here tonight. Hope you continue to do well with your move. TJ Lauerman, that Sports Gamer, thank you, as always, for joining us as well. TJ doing the double dip. He's on the Press Row podcast and the Hangout. It's great time. Good stuff.
I just got a live update. There's 2.7 million cards on the FIFA transfer market.
Jeez.
Also, I forgot what I've been playing, has been Pro Clubs. I've been getting back into that.
That I know you were obsessed with about 2 years ago. That is a subject for another day. But yes, I want to hear about that. All right, so for Brian Weedeye from Pasta Badre, for TJ Larriman from That Sports Gamer, I'm Rich Grisham from the Press Row Podcast. As always, thank you for listening and watching. We appreciate it. Make sure that before you do anything else, you go download the latest episode of the Press Row Podcast, which went live today, featuring myself, TJ Larriman, and Kat Bailey, and Sumit Sarkar, and Owen Good. We had a great conversation. Oh, and Chris Sanner. We had a great conversation this week about a bunch of stuff. And Brian, hopefully you'll join us for the next one, which will be the official Press Row Podcast MLB 14 The Show PS4 Review Roundtable. Say that 4 times fast, shall you? All right, guys.
Nope.
Thank you as always. Have a good night, and we will see you again real soon.